Hey guys, what's up? So we have a balancing update on official server and it's patch 1.7.32. These adjustments were based from ranked games and the recent MPLI matches. Remember, this is for official server, which means it's now live. First on our list is the much needed nerf on Lesley. They increased the cooldown of her first skill by 1 second in the late game. And they also lowered the bonus attack from the skill. So early game remains the same, while mid and late were slightly nerfed. Next is the nerf on Martis. Instead of getting 150 attack, he will now only get 90 for his passive skill. That's the bonus attack when his passive is full. It's even lower compared to the last advanced server update.
You poor thing.
Next is the buff on Alucard. A new feature is added to his ultimate, which will reduce the cooldown of his other skills by 50%. And it activates for the entire duration of his ultimate. To balance the new feature, they had to make some adjustments. First skill cooldown is now longer, while the ultimate duration is shorter by 2 seconds. This is a pretty good adjustment, right? Next is the buff on Hilda. The developers want her to have a bigger role in team fights instead of focusing on a single target. Her new passive will now apply stacks to an enemy that will reduce their magic and physical defense. That's 4% minus defense and it can stack 6 times. And of course, they had to remove the old ultimate effect because of the new feature. Is this a good buff for Hilda mains? Next is the buff on Belerick. His second skill will get reduced cooldown of 1 second each time his passive thorns are triggered. To balance, they had to add a few seconds of cooldown to the skill. You might want to start using him now to see his effectiveness. Next is the nerf on Kaja. They lowered the damage reduction from his stacks from 8 down to 5% per stack, and they added more cooldown to his first skill. Is this enough to remove him from the ban section? Next is the buff on Eve. They improved the slow effect of her second skill and ultimate. It's now 75% at maximum level. Is it enough to make up for the shortened ultimate range? Next is the nerf on Paquito. A slight reduction on his mobility. The movement boost duration is now shorter when activating his passive, from 2.5 to now 1.8 seconds. Next is the buff on Alice. Her ultimate is adjusted because her early to mid game is performing below expectations. Base damage is now fixed at 90 on all levels and they improved the mana boost in the late game. Mana requirement is slightly higher at max level. Next is the buff on Bane. The knock-up duration of his ultimate is now longer, from 0.4 to now 0.8 seconds. Next is the nerf on Benedetta. Her first and second skill now has longer cooldowns. Next is the nerf on Lylia. Early game damage is slightly reduced for her second skill. Next is the buff on Khaleed. He now moves faster when riding his sand skateboard, but the sand accumulation will be a bit longer to fill up when moving. Next is the nerf on Akai. Longer cooldown on his first skill and minus 100 points of HP. Next is the nerf on Pharsa. Her fourth skill, which turns her into a bird, will now have a slightly longer cooldown. That's an additional 5 seconds. Next is the buff on Hylos. His ultimate now has a shorter cooldown. That's minus 10 seconds on all levels. Next is the nerf on Diggie. His ultimate now has a longer cooldown. That's plus 16 seconds in the early levels, while it's almost the same at late game. Next is the buff on Lapu-lapu. His first skill will no longer trigger his passive shield, and he will generate 3 times more passive points when using his skill in ultimate form. Last one are the new vision effects for support heroes. Angela's first skill can now detect hidden enemies. Florin's second skill can do the same. Estes' second skill can give vision to an area just like this.
I am the chosen one.
There's a note about Matilda and Kaja's skills that allows them to detect hiding enemies. Although I'm not sure if this was implemented before. Can they already detect hidden So some of the unused heroes were buffed, while the popular ones were nerfed. I think it's a good update because it gives us more heroes to choose from. And if you're checking the skills, you might not see all the changes yet because they haven't updated the skill description. But the changes are already there if you play in classic or ranked games. So what can you say about the update? Do you agree with the adjustments? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.